I want you to watch. What did you do to me?
While every big Western studio is busy pumping out straight up garbage, the Witcher 3 devs are building something that might end up being the RPG of the year. Just recently we got some new gameplay footage and a really badass story trailer for the Blood of Dawnwalker. This time they showed us some of the open world activities, some combat improvements and some new abilities like turning into a goddamn wolf. We also got a good look at the skill trees, how the upgrading works and how time works as a resource. The video began with Cohen scaling up a tower to, synchronize a viewpoint. However, unlike a Ubisoft game where you'd press a button and a bunch of icons would just pop up on the map automatically, here you have to press X or the square button to get a better look at the different points of interest, and it kinda reminds me of Mad Max 2015. In that game, you'd fly up in a hot air balloon and then use your binoculars to manually scope out different POIs, which in my opinion is much better than just pressing a button and defogging the map. It makes you feel more like an active participant in exploration instead of having the game take over and do it for you. Now, while the ledge climbing animations have improved a lot and the camera angle doesn't cut and change awkwardly like it used to do before, it could still be improved, and I'm definitely not a fan of that sonic boom sound effect. I really hope they tone it down a bit or replace it with a little whoosh or something like that for short distances, but anyways. After getting a lay of the land, Cohen slides down the tower using the claw ride ability, and instead of just simply running to his destination or whistling for a horse, he turns into a wolf himself, which is faster and more agile but has some limitations. The narrator with a very cute voice didn't specify what the limitations were, but judging from this yellow bar depleting, I think once it's emptied or you stop sprinting, the transformation ends. So it doesn't seem to be a permanent transformation but just a fancier animation for sprinting. While running through the woods, Cohen comes across a woman in trouble and decides to help. Now first of all, I just love how smoothly he jumps into the air as a wolf and transforms back into a vampire to deliver death from above, a devastating strike to take out an unsuspecting enemy. Second is that the combat looks much better and smoother than before. However, in my opinion, the combat with claws still looks a bit clunky as compared to the sword. Based on the community feedback, they also got rid of the skill wheel entirely, and now the abilities can be selected through quick selection, which seems to be something similar to quickly selecting different stances in Ghost of Tsushima. This doesn't interrupt the flow of combat, which is important especially since this is not just a simple hack/dodge and parry. The combat is directional, kinda like KCD2 but simpler. You have to choose between 4 directions to strike or defend yourself, and this is something that adds an extra layer of depth and challenge to the combat. One more thing worth mentioning is that they brought Jan Blachowicz, a UFC champion, to motion capture the big brute back here to make his fighting style seem more authentic. So they have definitely put some effort into the combat. Now, I don't know how it'll actually feel to play, but judging from how it looks, I think there's still some room for improvement, especially with the animations. They need to be smoother, and it also needs some more variation with finishers because Cohen just keeps cutting off one leg of pretty much every poor guy he's fighting. But since the main focus of this game is on the characters, the story, and the narrative sandbox, if they can nail those things, this combat is passable as it is now. I mean, The Witcher 3 had pretty shit combat. Gameplay-wise, that game was just okay at best. It was the story and the characters that made that game special, and with the Blood of Dawnwalker, they seem to be following the same philosophy, which in my opinion is perfectly fine. Now, after fighting off the bad guys and saving the woman, Cohen needs to replenish his health, and this time he feeds on a poor deer in the woods. Feeding not only replenishes your health, but also raises something called the corruption level. This corruption level basically shows your strength as a vampire, and the higher it is, the more perks and abilities you'll be able to unlock in the skill tree. However, feeding on animal blood is not as effective, and if Cohen has to grow stronger and raise his corruption level faster, he has to feed on humans. While using the Voracious Bite ability on humans, you can either leave them unconscious like Cohen does here with this guard, or you can drain them completely, which will result in them dying. I also noticed that after feeding, Cohen's face is left bloodied for a while, which is a nice little detail. It's also possible for you to lose control and attack any nearby NPCs to feed, but more on that in just a bit. Now, the main premise of this game is that Cohen has to save his family within 30 days. So time is a fundamental mechanic in this game. However, it's not a constantly ticking clock, but acts more like a resource. On the top right corner of the screen, you can see a time meter which is divided into 8 segments. You get 8 units during the day and 8 at night. So a full day has a total of 16 time units. You can freely explore the open world, take in the views, and mess around with the photo mode without worrying about time. But performing certain actions like completing a quest, for example, or restoring shrines will progress time, and the meter fills up accordingly. Now, I don't really like how the slider just suddenly jumps forward. I mean, it would have been nice if they added some sort of effect or a fancy animation of the hourglass sliding forward, but anyways. Shrines are an important part of the game and have many different uses, like fast traveling and acquiring new abilities. There's also a storage option, but they didn't really say anything about how it works, so my guess is that it might be something like an additional storage, kinda like the private chest in Crimson Desert. One more thing that caught my eye was the wait option. The devs have already confirmed that you can play the entire game as either a vampire or a human, so I'm guessing that these shrines will be used to pass the time. We also got a pretty good look at how the skill trees and upgrading works in the new gameplay demo. There are 3 different skill trees: Witchcraft, Sword Mastery, and Vampirism. Now, as I just mentioned, new vampiric abilities can be unlocked by raising the corruption level. For the sword skills though, you need to find instruction manuals in the open world. Like here, Coin finds a precision manual which unlocks the ability to deal 10% more damage. Now, in my opinion, dedicating an entire slot for just a 10% damage increase is kinda stupid, and I think it would be much better if it unlocked a new combat move instead. Witchcraft abilities can also be unlocked in kind of a similar way, but more on that in just a bit. Now, after you unlock a skill, you have to go to a nearby shrine to actually acquire it. And here's where things get interesting. Acquiring abilities cost 2 things. One's the basic XP points, which is a standard in RPGs. However, in this game, it costs time units as well. Now, I don't really know how to feel about this, but it does seem quite interesting. According to the devs, learning a new skill takes time in real life, and they wanted to reflect that here as well. And since leveling up and becoming stronger is pretty much the main goal of the game, integrating the time system into the skill trees makes sense. Most skills seem to require about 1 or 2 time units, so it's not that much, but it will make you think if you want to invest your time and XP into learning a certain ability. Like if I were playing the game, I'd probably not invest in dealing just 10% more damage. Now, in the gameplay demo, after Coin learns new skills, the time meter completely fills up and the night comes to an end. Each new day starts with a nice sunrise cutscene and an edict. These edicts are tied directly to the Infamy system. Every day you do something to piss off the vampires, and once they take notice of what you've done, they will react according to your Infamy level. This is something they mentioned before too, that Brancis doesn't just sit in his castle waiting for you to get strong and take him on. He will actively try to make your life difficult, and now it's clear how he'll do that. There are a total of 9 levels in the Infamy system. The more infamous you are, the more challenging the world becomes. For example, at level 1 it says additional patrols in settlements. At level 2 it says military checkpoints appear throughout the valley. And at the 3rd level is price increase throughout the valley. Now, the first 2 are pretty straightforward, but I'm not really sure about the 3rd one. I read the edict to understand it better, and I think they'll impose a higher blood tax along with some additional tolls, and it could mean that different merchants will sell things at a higher price. Based on all that, I think your actions will not only affect you, but the people of the valley as well. I'm kinda curious at how the edicts will look at higher infamy levels and how much tougher they'll actually get. Now, you can gain infamy by killing random guards, but I think the fastest and the most effective way to do that is by disrupting the operations of Brancis's officers. Each of the 3 vampires has an anger level that is directly tied to how many of their operations you have disrupted. Once their anger meter fills up, a new quest is unlocked, which I think is probably gonna be a boss fight with that vampire. Now, all these quests are represented with a question mark, so I think first you have to uncover what's actually going on before you can interfere. They also have these small icons on them ranging from 1 to 3. At first I thought it was kinda like a difficulty level, but that's not the case. In the gameplay demo, they showed off a quest related to Ambrose where Coin destroys his blood storage in an underground cellar. Completing the quest checked off one of these small icons. Based on that, I think Ambrose might have 2 more blood storage cellars that you'll have to destroy, and once you destroy all 3, Ambrose is gonna be like,
I kinda got a little angry.
During the day, Coin is a human and has access to magic, so the gameplay is significantly different than at night. Like, you can no longer turn into a wolf during the day, but you can unlock a similar blood magic ability, also known as Mercurial Fervor, which allows you to get around much faster. The running animation looks a bit weird and stiff though, and I really hope they can improve it by making it feel more impactful, maybe something closer to the running animations from Prototype, cause that would look super badass. But anyways, due to this gameplay duality, there are many different activities and areas that are exclusive to the time of day. For example, the haunted sites are only available during the day as they require blood magic that vampires can't wield because of their healing factor. At a haunted site, you'll have to fight restless spirits, and once you defeat them and they go to rest in peace, you can get witchcraft upgrade manuals which unlock new blood magic abilities in the skill tree. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of activities on the flip side that are only available at night when Coin is a vampire, which brings us to one of the most fascinating things in the game, the bloodthirst mechanic. The health bar also acts as a bloodthirst meter, and if it drops too low, Cohen can actually lose control and attack nearby NPCs to feed. And this can even happen to any important side character as well, which of course will have unpredictable outcomes in the story. According to the creative director, the game places a heavy emphasis on player choice and freedom, allowing you to take extreme actions without breaking the game. So you can actually kill almost all the characters in the game, which is just insane. They showed off this freedom of choice in the story trailer as well, which, not gonna lie, looks super badass. I mean, just look at this. In the trailer, this rebel leader seems like an important character and is one of Cohen's allies, but in one scene, Cohen kills him himself. Then there's this girl who teaches Cohen blood magic and seems to be his love interest as well, but in the next shot, he's threatening her as well. This just goes to show how your choices or even inaction can lead to completely different outcomes. What's actually insane is that it's also entirely possible for Cohen to run out of time and fail to save his family, which in my opinion is probably going to be the worst ending. The game also features some romance options, however, just like any other quest, they also require time, so you'll have to choose between getting some action or saving your family. And I know what I'll be doing on my 5th playthrough. Now, the devs have stated that it'll take you around 40 to 50 hours to complete the game if you utilize the entire 30-day time limit. So it's not a short game unless you rush to Brancis's castle early on in the game, and I'll most probably take my time with it. The best part is that just like Crimson Desert, this is another open world game that encourages exploration. And as I've mentioned before in my previous videos as well, this game won't have any microtransactions. Every sword, every resource is there in the game's open world waiting to be found. I was kinda wrong about the pre-order bonuses though, as it turns out they are providing a bonus armor set if you pre-order the game. However, it's not an exclusive armor set and you can still find it in the game, although I think it's probably gonna be very hard to find. The Blood of Dawnwalker is shaping up to be a very solid dark fantasy open world RPG, and I think the itch I have had ever since The Witcher 3 is about to be scratched. But even though this is one of my most anticipated games this year and September 3rd couldn't come soon enough, there's one thing that I'm very much concerned about, and that is the performance. The Blood of Dawnwalker is being developed on Unreal Engine 5, and even though it does look impressive, it's certainly not a 4K 60 FPS on a 5090 impressive. And that makes me a bit nervous about the console performance as well. I mean, despite being like a 10 times bigger game, Crimson Desert was able to pull that off on a 5070 Ti, but in some of the busier areas in the game, it still runs like ass on the base PS5. Now, in the interview with the Game Business, game director Konrad Tomaskevich did say that he's played through the entire game on the PS5 and it runs fine. But I'm a bit skeptical and will see for myself how well it works on the base PS5, which my broke ass will be playing this game on. Do let me know what do you think of the Blood of Dawnwalker. Will you be playing the game on day 1 or wait till the reviews come out? Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Also use the hype feature so this video gets more exposure and my small channel blows up. Thanks for watching, and next time, take care.